Welcome to the Hobbit house. Well, actually it isn't. It's another bat house, bat feature. Another feature that we're going to check today. Some emergency works is required to this structure because it's starting to collapse, but the bats use it during the winter. It's a crucial feature here. We're checking it because we want to see if there's any bats inside. If there aren't, then the works can go ahead. If there are, we'll have to come back for another time.
Do you know what? You never quite know what you're going to find in places like this. There's Jeanette for a start, but also we've got this amazing stuff. Now, I don't actually know what this is. It looks like some sort of mossy growth on the external part of this wooden brace here, which is being used to hold up, to an extent, the walls of the structure. That's a really fascinating sort of colour and growth form. Okay, I'm getting waved through to say that it's okay to proceed. One of the really interesting things here, can you see these bits of sort of rusty material that are hanging down from the wall, from the roof rather? These are sections of roof lining that have sort of started to rot and fall away, and yet the bats will actually use them, will hang from them. We've seen them doing that quite regularly before. Let's just check with Jeanette and see what's happening. I can hear bleeping in this building. Are you wondering like I am what it is? Here's Jeanette. Let's see if we can find out a little bit more about what's happening today.
Well, yes, I am bleeping, and there's a good reason for that. We're doing another bat survey and we're in a very small confined space. We're also in a place that could be emitting gases. So I'm actually wearing a gas meter.
So Jeanette's still bleeping, which is good news, or rather the gas meter's bleeping. There you go, you can hear it, it's still bleeping. That means everything's okay, it's working properly. One of the issues in places like this, in confined spaces, is that gases can build up, and certain gases can be very problematic for us and for other species as well, actually. Hydrogen sulfide is one of those, and you get it sometimes in places like this where you have sort of rotting wood standing in water and perhaps gets disturbed by us treading on it or work being carried out. In this case, we're going to be reinforcing the walls as they're starting to destabilise a little bit. So these are just different techniques that we use. They're kind of important safety techniques, but obviously they're really critical for us to understand about when we're working in these quite confined environments.
It's probably just worth pointing out, actually, if you're interested in doing bat work, finding out what you feel about confined spaces and working in the dark is really important, because it could be something that you have to do regularly. So if you don't like it, find out before you get too heavily involved in this kind of work.
Now, just before I come out of this place, and in fact because I'm likely to fall right over and make a complete fool of myself when I come out, I'm talking to you from the entrance. You can see it's quite a sort of a narrow place. That's no problem for the bats at all. In fact, if I just close the door here, you'll be able to see that there's a really small space left for the bats to fly through, and that's fine. It helps to cut down the drafts and light and reduce the likelihood of predators getting in as well. A couple of interesting things. First of all, it's been very, very cold recently. It was raining heavily last night. There were 8 bats in here yesterday. There's only 1 today. Now that's really interesting. It just indicates how much shifting around bats can do at this time of year. The second point is, sadly, we're unable to carry out the emergency works just at the moment because there's a bat in deep torpor in here. But we'll keep checking it on a fairly frequent basis, very quietly, very carefully, of course, so that we can carry out those really important works to enable its long-term use by bats.